Still cold there, huh?
Now it's live. Okay. So let's not waste time. We can always, record and we can see this letter. Today we have Dr. Firoz Khan, who will be teaching you on international legal provisions. And this is a very important topic because, all this migration flow and all these are controlled by these legal provisions. And we have Dr. Firoz Khan. Firoz Khan has done his research on labor studies, but in recent time, he's also working on diaspora and international migration. And he's working as a researcher, and sometimes he speaks also, publishing articles. And he did PhD on labor migration from our school, SOITS. So over to you, Firoz.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be leaving now, so you carry on. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. After lunch, this session is quite difficult, I know, but we will try to make it more interesting. And if it is possible for you to interact with me, then it will be more interesting for you also. So don't be hesitate. If you want to speak in Hindi, please carry on. If you want to speak in English, no issues, but try to communicate so that will make this session an interactive session. Otherwise, it will be one-sided and boring lecture that I'm just reading the PPT or I'm just explaining the thing, and whatever you are taking, I don't know whether after switching off your camera, you are there or not, and you are really listening to me or not, or just I'm talking with the camera. So it will be most important if you can all open your cameras. And are you there? Nirmal, Swadesh, Anshad. Hello, I am audible or not?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So if you can open your cameras, then it will be more feasible for me to make this as an interactive class. Okay. So without further wasting any time, let me come to the topic that today we are going to discuss on international legal provisions. So before starting to this class, I just wanted to know from you that why it is important to know about the international legal provisions. Anyone can answer? I just wanted to know your ideas.
Sir, I think so that migration that takes place is taking place in a safe and orderly manner, because if you don't have legal protection, then there's a lot of exploitation that might take place, a lot of middlemen that might come and take advantage of the situation the migrants are in.
Great. So why we are creating law? I mean to say, if we create a single law, just for an example, if I create a refugee law, and that will take care, is it going to take care for migrants as well as refugees as well as asylum seekers? A single law can take care of everything, or we have to have different laws for different people? Anyone can answer.
So again, if I may pitch in, I think different laws are necessary, because when you talk about refugees and labor migration and economic migrants in particular, the circumstances surrounding their migration are also very different.
Mhm.
The kind of actors they deal with are very different. So you need to have different kinds of laws set in place to define, to match their circumstances.
Very true. But it also gives us a pure, clear-cut definition. For an example, if I am talking about a refugee law, then the law must have given the refugee who are the refugees. At the same time, they have given the definition for asylum seeker. The law for migrants also given the definition for migrants. So these laws are actually defining the boundaries. Otherwise, we hardly found any differences with them if we look at from only one eye. But if you go deep into the things, then you will realize, okay, there is lots of difference, and these difference are come out through these laws, and these laws are protecting them. So my next basic question is why it is important. Why it is important to know about the international legal provisions? As one of you already said that it is because there are more movements in the world than any time before. After World War II, we are seeing there is a hype. I mean, not hype. There is a frequent movement in the world, and this makes us to come to a point where we can think why it is important to have a legal provision. There are many factors for this movement. On the positive side, we can say that there are many bilateral or multilateral trade is going on. So governments are making policies, and these policies are actually encouraging to free movements of the people. And other things, we can say that advantage of technology, advancement of technology and informations. Okay. And on the negative side, we can say this displacement, conflict and acute poverty. Displacement can be take place because of the policies, or you can say natural disasters or climate change. So because of this factor, it is very important to understand or to know what are the legal provisions and which legal provisions are enacted or made for which person, for which category of people. Now, generally, broadly, that international policies are divided in between refugee, trafficking, and workers migration. I'm talking about the protective laws, so are made for these peoples only. And who make this policy? UN, ILO, IOM, and a state government. By state, I mean the national. Like India has its own law, America has its own law. So these are the body who make this law for the people. Now we'll come to know about the forced displacement. As you know, it is a situation in which a person or a community is forced to flee or leave home or native place under the atmosphere of fear or armed conflict or violence. If you force someone by, I mean to say, by making a policy, or if some attacks or violation is going on, people start moving from that place. Again, I'll say that climate change or climatic induced migration is also responsible for forced displacement. That UNHCR report says that from 2012, the chart is saying that from 2012 to 2022, every year the forced displacement migration is increasing. From 2012, it is almost 48 to 45 million. So now in 2022, it is almost 83 million. New displacement from January to December, the report says that during 2021, some 1.17 million people across international borders seeking protection and 14.4 million new displacement within their countries were reported. There is a dramatic increase in this new displacement. Can any one of you answer why it is so? Diksha?
I'm not so sure, sir. I mean, of course, there are lots of conflicts breaking out, but I'm sure there are more reasons as well. But I mean, the main thing I can think of is greater conflicts. We've just had the Russia-Ukraine crisis going on, and the situation in West Asia isn't getting any better. Also, I think people now have more channels to go through. Like earlier migrations, people would have to create channels to migrate, but now I think there are some familiar patterns that the migrants can also follow. So I guess that might also be a reason.
Yes, yes, you are very true. Like this Afghanistan issue, this Taliban takeover, and the old conflicts which are going on, and the new conflicts which are emerging. And you have rightly said that now in the current scenario, this Russia-Ukraine war, it is also forcing many people to displace from their place, from their native place to the neighboring countries or to the countries where they feel comfortable and they are getting settling there. So now this displacement in the context of climate change, according to the International Displacement Monitoring Center, uh, in 2021, there were 23.7 million new international displacements globally due to disaster. And these are additional to the conflict and violence. This represents a decrease of 7 million or 23 million comparing to the previous year. The largest displacement in this context of disaster in 2021 occurred in China, 6.0 million, in Philippines, 5.7 million, and in India, 4.9 million. Most of this disaster displacement during the year were temporary. Temporary means they get resettled after some time. But 5.9 million people were worldwide remained displaced at the end of the year due to this disaster. Now we are coming to our main topic, our main point, that the actual magnitude of the forcibly displaced worldwide peoples are more than 89.3 million. If you see that UNHRC report 2021 says, it says that 89.3 million individuals worldwide were forcibly displaced as the result of persecution, conflict, violence, human rights. And among these, 27.1 millions are refugees and 4.6 millions are asylum seekers. Now, my next question to you all, that can anyone tell me the difference between a refugee and an asylum seeker? You can try it. Diksha?
So I'm not, again, I'm not so sure, but I think asylum seekers are all those who seek refugee status in a country. But when they are fleeing, they are called as asylum seekers. Refugee, I think, is when it is officially, when it is officially decided by organizations like UNHCR or the refugee, the system that countries have. Once they term the person a refugee, then only they become a refugee. Otherwise, they're asylum seekers till then.
Great, good. Anyone else you want to try? Because only Diksha is giving the answers. It is not bad, but if you also try, then it will be good. Other people. Nirmal? Okay. As Diksha rightly says that refugee is a status that is given to the people who have crossed their own country's border and take refuge in another country's border. And this status is given to the people. I mean to say, this status is actually the freedom. Now the refugees can freely move freely to another country, and they can earn their livelihood in that host country, and they can get public assistance, and it is also helpful for them to take health assistance or health requirement. Whatever a foreigner can do in another country, that a refugee can also. The difference between asylum seeker and a refugee is that asylum seeker is still waiting for the confirmation that he or she is a refugee, whereas a refugee is a status. Okay, the problem of refugee came into light during after the First World War, when millions of peoples were migrated from one place to another, and the same thing took place after Second World War also, but in a more acute manner. Now the thing is,
I have a question. Can I ask you right now?
Yes, sure.
So how does it work with countries like India, who neither have a domestic refugee law nor have they signed international conventions? Considering that we do have a plethora of asylum seekers from many countries, as far as Somalia, how does the government deal with it? Of course, some refugees are governed by UNHCR, but not all groups. So what happens to the other groups then? How are they governed?
If we discuss this later, I mean to say in the after part, then it will be more feasible for me to.
Sure, sir. Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
Sure. So the thing is that if we understand the difference between a refugee and asylum seeker, then we'll know what are the actual things. The most important point is that if a person crosses the international border and take asylum or refuge in another countries, then that country particular is not, I mean to say, they are not supposed to send back unless and until the atmosphere of that fear because of which the person has migrated or moved to another country is clear. Okay, so no one can be pushed back to their own native places that no, we are not going to entertain you or we are not going to open our borders for you. You go back to your native places unless and until that the atmosphere of fear is not getting clear. Now, this why this situation is arising that people are becoming refugees or the asylum seekers. The most important thing is that if the state fails to protect their own people, it is due to ethnic conflict or religious conflict or due to coup or any other reason. If the state is failing to protect their own people, their people are bound to run or they might go to another country for the safe haven. Okay, so that is why many people from First World War or you can say Second World War and even today at the today's scenario when you're talking about Russia, Ukraine war, or if it is Taliban, Afghanistan and places like this, and even in South Sudan, where ethnic conflict is still going on and people are forced to move from their own native place to another country. Now, the thing is that an asylum seeker is a person who has asked for the protection but has not received a decision to their claim. If he or she has received the decision of their claim, then it becomes refugee. Till the time they are asylum seeker. And a refugee is an individual whom the host has offered protection. Like their own country, the host country has also have to protect the refugees. And as I already told you that the host country cannot send them back to their native places. Okay. Now, what Diksha has asked about India. See, in India, you find this refugees from Myanmar. Okay. Even from Afghanistan and from Bangladesh. There are many people who are staying in India, though we have not ratified the thing, but still we are managing the thing. Okay. Hope I have answered your question or you want to ask anything more, Diksha?
No, nothing else, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now the thing is that if you talk about the most displaced people from where these refugees are coming, so there are many countries, but on the top notes, there are Syrian Arabic Republic, almost 6.8 million, Venezuela 4.6 million, Afghanistan 2.7 million, South Sudan 2.2 million, and Myanmar 1.2 million. Okay, there are other countries also. The data is given in front of your screen. And if we want to see who are the host countries, then you will surprised to know that most of them are developing countries, not the industrial countries or you can say developed countries, but most of the developing countries are hosting large number of refugees, just like Turkey, Colombia, Pakistan, Uganda, and Germany. The data are showing that Turkey hosts almost 3.8 million people, whereas Colombia 1.8 million, Pakistan 1.5 million, Uganda 1.5 million, and Germany nearly 1.1 million people. So why people are choosing such kind of destination? It also depend on the bilateral relation of the country from where the refugees are coming. Just for an example, if you talk about this Russia-Ukraine war, the current Russia-Ukraine war, many people from Russia who are migrating, they are taking refugee, or you can say they are visiting to Romania and nearby places. Why? Because this country have their bilateral relation and there is no hard restriction to their visas policy, and they are familiar with the languages also, and religion is also favors them. So there are many things which can actually attract these people. When they move from their own country, they can it is to many this country which they feel that they will be safe in that country because of maybe because of language, maybe because of religion, maybe because of their culture, that somehow this culture is also giving resemblance to their own culture. So these are many points which makes the people or which make the refugees or asylum seeker to move such countries. If you have any question till this time, you can please ask me. Anyone? Okay. Now, as per the definition is concerned, you can use the UN's definition that which talks about refugee, who is refugee, and who is asylum seeker. Now, which law protect the refugee? As we have already discussed that after World War I, the issues of refugee has taken the new shape, and after 1951 Refugee Convention, this law of refugees has come out, and it has given the protection to this refugee people. And there are many articles which actually protect their right to work, right to housing, right to education, right to public relief assistance, right to freedom of religion, and there are many rights which are given in the refugee. So now my next part is about smuggling and trafficking. So for if you have any question related to refugee or asylum seeker, you can please ask me, or we can move to the next section, that smuggling and trafficking. So anyone can please tell me what is the difference between smuggling and trafficking? Diksha, I'm hoping from you.
Not so sure. I'm not so sure, so I don't want to.
Okay, okay, no issue. See, there is a very minute difference between trafficking and smuggling. In smuggling, many a time the people from themselves go to that smuggler and ask them to please drop them to the next territory. I mean to say, smuggling of human take place when we crosses the international border. In the lower, or you can say that with the stimulus that you are going to earn a high living there, or there your life become change and you can earn many things, or you will get a higher education or something will be there that attracts you, and for that purpose you try to do anything just to go to that country. For example, if you say in India, many people from Punjab are just trying to make their just giving their every efforts to go to Canada. Okay, there are many people who will do, acha, I just wanted to go to Canada, so whatever the means is there, I am ready to do the thing. So such kind of situation are there. From Mexico, many people are trying to visit to USA. So in that situation, if you are not using the legal channel, and if you are using the fake your ID proofs, or illegally if you are crossing the international border, then it is a human smuggling. And in case of trafficking, it does not require to cross the international border or to cross the national border. Trafficking can take place anywhere. It can be take place within the state or within the country as well. Okay. For trafficking, there are three things that is very much required. Number one is act. Number two is means, and number three is purpose. Act means what? Act means recruiting a person or picking a person for trafficking. And the means, you can lure a person that I'll give you a job, or I'll marry to you, or your child will be safe in that place, or I'll take you to the hospital, or whatever way. You can just ask them person to come with you. And what is the purpose? Purpose is to make a person slave. Trafficking, human trafficking is a modern day slavery. For what purpose you are making them slave is to exploit them. Just for an example, if you want a labor for you, if you want a domestic worker for you, and you don't want to pay, you just traffic a person and make it yourself. Okay. Or if there are industries which are human intensive industries, I mean to say, not machines, but humans are mostly employed in that industry. So you recruit that labor, and that labor will work for you either in free of cost or for very less price. Another thing is that if you want to smuggle or if you want to take out human organs, you do human trafficking. And there are many activities that can be done through human activities. That is why this human trafficking takes place. And it is very important that act, means, and purpose are the things through which we can define or through which we can segregate the human trafficking with smuggling. Now we'll look into further deep into the things. Now, human trafficking, it is a group of crime involving the exploitation of man, women, and children. You cannot say that only women are get trafficked or only children are get trafficked. Any age person, any caste, any religion, any national person, anyone can be trafficked. The condition is that if a person is prone to exploitation, then he or she can be trafficked. And it is an act that is done for financial and personal gain. That I have already explained to you, that people sold, just like earlier days, people were just like product people were selling each other. So in modern days time, human trafficking are taking place, and human trafficking is also associated with slavery. What are the causes of human trafficking? Poverty, unemployment, and violence. See, when this Afghanistan incidents take place, there were many news regarding this human trafficking, that poor ladies were ready to sell their own child or daughter in the market for their survival. Uh, you must have heard or you must have read this news. So poverty is one thing which force a person or which makes a person to go to any extreme situation. So human trafficking is one of them. Another thing is that unemployment. If you are unemployed and if you are deliberately looking for a job, then I don't know how many, maybe many people are prone to this kind of things, that they get stuck into a wrong hand and they get trafficked, or they get stuck into at wrong places. Violence is another thing also, that after any war or after any violence, whether it is ethnic or religious violence, many people get trafficked because of this situation. If you see the percentage, the cases, that what is the actual reason behind this is economic needs. This is a data from UNDOC, okay, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime 2020 reports. It says that economic need, 51% of the trafficking cases take place due to the economic need. Child with a dysfunctional family, intimate partner, that I have already told you, that people get false promises of getting marriages, and mental, behavioral, or a neurological disorder is also one of the cause. Immigration status that we have discussed about, it can turn into kidnapping thing, but trafficking thing, but before that it is not. And child deprived foreign language and physical disability. So these all are the things that is making this trafficking easy for the people. So why human trafficking is done? Anyone can, why human trafficking is done? Anyone? Swadesh? Abamish? Okay. No one is interested. Anyhow.
No. So could you just repeat your question, sir? What do you want?
Why human trafficking is done?
So there are many reasons for it. I am come from the state of Orissa, and there's a lot of young girls who are in a way trafficked from Orissa. Not necessarily as prostitution for prostitution, but for work as domestic laborers, and sometimes in Andhra in the brick lanes. So one,
Okay.
of course, like you mentioned, it was poverty in the households and other things. But there is also another thing
Mhm.
is many a times because there is a need for job, and there are these middlemen who are roaming. So they take them to other places and put them into work.
Yes.
Uh, so that's and many are main, of course, the underlying reason is the economic condition of that particular area and the family.
Okay. Very true. Very true. Diksha, if you want to try or any other. As
So
rightly.
sometimes I also feel that in many areas, there because at the time of specifically the rainy season, after the rainy season, uh, mm, during the rainy season, basically from April to or May to, let's say, August, September, the work is not available here, and so they are in need for some cash. So these money lenders or
Hmm.
these middlemen actually give them that support of credit support, and then they get into this
Mhm.
whole trap also. And of course there are this
Okay.
now another thing which is we are seeing is specifically from people from Rajasthan, Haryana and others are taking young girls as wives, and not
Mhm.
and in exchange, of course, for the money. It's a reverse dowry system which sometimes is happening. You
Mhm.
give money to the
Yes.
family and you take the girl.
Mhm.
So I think trafficking happens because if you legally hire labor, you have to pay them fair wages and so on and so forth. They have their own rights. But
Mhm.
when trafficking is done, you actually isolate the person from any
Mhm.
sort of safety net. So they are stuck in a cycle of providing cheap labor or, as you said, free of cost labor.
Mhm.
So I think it's a very psychological thing as well, right? Because
Yes.
they have no safety net, they have no one to reach out to, so they are forced for their own survival to provide very, very cheap labor and live in dire conditions.
Mhm. Yes, very true. Both of you have given the right and correct answer. And this Abhish, sorry if I'm spelling your name wrongly. Abhamish,
Sir, it's Abha Mishra.
Abha Mishra. Okay, Abha Mishra.
Yes,
Actually, I am just seeing abhamis@gmail.com. That is why.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Abha.
sir.
Okay. Okay. So what Abha has actually given one more example of bonded labor. She talked that during the after this rainy season, when there is no work, people are taking them to other places, and just to lure them, they give advances or some kind of token money to them, and because of that token money, they are bound to work for them. So this is an example of bonded labor. Thank you, Abba, for this. Also, in Punjab, because many people from Punjab are out migrated to Canada, and they are working there. So the field is actually now is taken care from the labor who are migrating from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. In this kind of situation, when early morning when they arrive to Punjab without ticket and all, so these middlemen, they save them from TT and all, and they give sometime extra token, and they make them to work in their field in less money. This is an example of bonded labor. And you both rightly said that it is to provide human labor. Just when you required a human labor for a factory, or you want to use them for a human bomb, or for arms, I mean to say smuggling and any kind of work which you don't think a normal person can do, and you want to exploit a person which is there for you, so you will indulge that kind of person into such work, okay, and to earning a financial gain. Now the question is arise that why this if the people get trafficked or they know that they are getting exploited, why they are not coming out and saying that, see, I am get trafficked, or these people are exploiting me? Can you make any guess, Abha and Diksha?
Basically, there's this whole fear psychosis also, which is ingrained in them. And secondly, also, most of their documents are not with them. That get, as soon as they land up somewhere or the other, they just take it away from them. So
Yes.
without so these are two, and there's a lot of fear factor also, is being created for these guys. And the third thing which I feel is that there is no redressal mechanism available at the destination source. So they also are not aware about if there is any grievance redressal. Like, I can give you an example. When during the COVID situation, there were a lot of migrant laborers who were stranded in many of the states. And because I'm working in one place where we started thinking how to take care of them and all that, and we realized that even to reach them and ask them to come to a certain place for bringing them back, it was very difficult because there was no system. From Orissa, if they have gone to Kerala, there is no one place where everybody can come together. Nobody knows anything. They do not even know what their local rights are. So it was very, very difficult for us. So I think these are three major factors which stops anybody from even, saying no to it,
Okay.
besides the economic factor.
Yes, yes, yes. The most important point which you have touched is that no proper documentation. Okay, that is there. No proper documentation. But see, if we imagine a situation where people are actually more fearful to the government law. If you don't have any documentation, then you will be more getting more exploited in government mechanism than from these people who has traffic to you. Okay, so the fear that if they don't have documents, they cannot come out. So unless and until we are not going to easy this law, that if you don't have document, at least you come out, at least you can say. So we are not going to tackle this severe problem. And other things also, you have rightly said that there are many things that force them. First, maybe because they get blackmailed. Another thing is that because of the stimulus, or they they get habitual of drugs or anything like that. So because of this situation, they are not coming out. So how are the victims trafficked? Through force method by traffickers, or through giving stimulus that you will get a good job out there and will provide you more money that will help to your family and your parents. So blah blah blah. There are many things that to take them from one place to another, or they can get trafficked. Another thing is that the method used to control trafficking victim are psychological abuse, physical abuse by beating them, burning them, I mean to say giving them a burn, bite, or rape, or starvation. And Diksha has already mentioned that isolating them, and drugs, alcohol, depending. Now, these are the things that pose these people or make this victim to be quiet at their places. Now, the thing is that this United Nations Office on Drugs Crime report says that female victims continue to be the particularly affected by trafficking in person. In 2018, for every 10 victims detected globally, about 5 were adult women and 2 were girls. About 1/3 of the overall overall detected victims were children, both girls and were male, adults men. So as we have already talked, there is no age, no gender for the trafficking or for the traffickers. Okay. Now, if you see the shares where these people are get appointed, recruited, or placed after get trafficked, that the report says that 50% were sexually exploited, 38% were forced labor, 6% were criminal, get indulged in criminal activities, 1.5% in begging, 1% as a forced migrant. Okay. So there are trafficking laws, this 2000 protocol, which prevent the person. And another thing is there are laws which are there, but unless and until we are not going to ease the law, we are not going to help these people. Now we are moving to our last and the third part. If you have any question, anyone, if you are having any question or you want to give your own comments, so you are free to come. Otherwise, we are moving to the third section. Abha, Diksha.
I understand it.
Yes, even I understood. No questions.
Okay. So now we are moving to the last thing, that is migrant worker. Now, before coming to this thing, let me know from your side ki, you have tried to explain what is refugee, what is asylum seeker. Now, anyone can try to explain me what is a migrant worker? Yes, Abha.
So the migrant laborers, of course, can be, within the country and outside the country. Now, when there is again, there are three types. At least two types of migrant. One is of a forced migration, and one is, desired migration. Now, if I move out of from the state of Orissa and move into Delhi and stay there and work there, because the certain types of jobs are not available in Orissa, that's my desire to go there and become a migrant labor. But if I am forced, we don't have enough here, and I'm forced to move out of here for like a casual, for a certain period of time or for a long period, I'm forced to move out of here. Then it becomes a forced migration or distress migration. Specifically, when it comes to Orissa terms, there are about a couple of districts where drought conditions prevail, so they move out for a couple of months. And the international migration, of course, is that we can move out and work somewhere, and then after we stay back, we take the green cards and become the diaspora of that country.
Yes.
But that's the basic thing.
Okay. Diksha, you want to try? Thank you, Abha.
No, sir, nothing to add.
Nothing to answer. Okay. So migration is a voluntary decision. Actually, what Abha has said, that migration is a voluntary decision. People voluntarily try to go to some places, either for work. If they go for work, then migrant workers. If they go for study, then migrant for students. And if for health, then health migrants, or you can term it anything for the as per the condition, on which condition you go for tourism or any other thing. So migration is a voluntary process which you take, which you decide that now I want to work as a migrant labor, or I want to cross the international border. But is the situation, I mean to say, is the condition of migrant worker is safe, or they are also prone for the exploitation? Yes, Abba, please.
So not necessarily, they are not get the same terms and condition as the natives, because the native will of course have their own social security nets. They would have their be it in terms of loss of wages, or maybe for health facilities, or any of the things. So the migrants would not have the opportunity of even if you look at it now, we are starting a one nation one PDS system. Earlier, even if somebody moves out from Orissa to, let's say, Delhi or Bombay or somewhere else, the person could not avail the free ration from that state, because he is registered as a person who would get the rice from the state of Orissa from a certain district. So these conditions, and many times also happens, not always migrants, if they are affluent migrants, then they can afford to stay in good places, or if they are not the skilled migrants and other things, then they may be living in very deplorable conditions with the housing structure, the water requirements, the facilities, the power facilities would not be there in those areas. So it again depends upon type of the migrant who has gone and where they are staying in a way. But of course, the local specifically social security norms don't come to them.
Yes, right. Very true that this phobia is there for migrants from the native. And another thing is that state law is more protective to their native labor than to the migrants. So to overcome from these hurdles or to overcome from these obstacles, just international bodies are making some laws, and that laws are to enact to make the way or to make the route smooth for the migrant worker. This ILO, just for an example, ILO is coming every time with convention and recommendations to ease the working condition of the workers, as well as to protect their fundamental rights. So my next question to you people is, what is the difference between convention and recommendation, if anyone can answer?
Convention would be, sir, they have to follow it. Recommendation is that it's a recommended thing which the country looking at is their own laws and interest can adopt or not adopt.
Yes, yes, sir. So as Diksha has, Abha has rightly said that convention are legally bound to the countries who are signatory to the ILO conventions. Okay, who are signatory to ILO's things, that they are bound to follow this convention. And recommendations are nothing but a guideline for the convention. These are actually providing them how to implement the law and how this law will be helpful for the country as well as for the international community. And these laws are nothing but to protect the workers' right and to make the workers' movement smooth. So this ILO convention number 97 helps in the bilateral agreement between the two states by promoting consolidation of bilateral labor agreement where there is a considerable flow of migrant workers. It actually helps the route. It actually helps to form the route between the two countries or two or more countries from where this labor can easily migrate and work in one and another territory, and it helps to protect them. Similarly, this ILO Convention 143 focuses toward the issue that is arising due to the irregular migration, as Abha already mentioned, and she has tried to explain that there are certain things in which people are trying to go through illegal route, and this, to protect their rights, this ILO convention is there. And the most important thing is a domestic worker convention 189. Actually, it is providing them the legal this documents that you are working with this people or with in this country, because the domestic workers are the most invisible and most exploitative labor. Can anyone try to explain me why? Just try to answer this. Why this domestic worker are more exploitative workers? Why they mostly get exploited? Abha?
So of course, one thing is they are in a domestic helpers are usually in one household. They may be first taken by an agency and kept, and then the agency has their own rules. Another hand, After that, they are placed into a house. Now, many of the agencies do not take care of them as per the law. So they don't have a redressal mechanism, or they don't do the follow-ups and things. So in the household, what happens in the 24 hours, nobody is actually having a look. And see, the household can exploit them as much as they can, because they are also not signing any agreement that this is what they have to give and this is how they have to treat. That legality has still not been implemented well in India, at least.
If you talk about India or even in international, thing is that if you are getting appointed on a domestic work or a domestic help, then you are not the one who is visible to the people. I mean to say, as Diksha has Abha has said, that these people are working particularly in houses, so they are mostly invisible workers. We don't know who are they, from where they have come, and at what condition and at what terms and condition, who has appointed to them. What we are seeing is just a one person or one lady who is working in a house for 24 hours. That invisibility make them most vulnerable, because if you are working in a house and if you are staying there and working in that house, it means that there is no timetable how long you are going to work. There is no holidays for you, and even if you talk about salary, they cut at any time, and they blame for anything and cut your salary. So you have destroyed our this thing, you have ruined our this thing. So with excuses and all, they cut your salary. So the domestic workers are the most I mean to say, prone to this exploitation, and because of their invisibility make them exploited too. So this Domestic Worker Convention 89 is a supplementary recommendation number 21 that actually provide them the legal authority that these people are working here. Okay, so with this, I just want to conclude my lecture, and if you have any question regarding anything, you can please ask me.
Not from my side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? So can we conclude our class?
I think so, sir.
Thank you, everyone. It was.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think I was the most talkative out of it.
No. Actually, you make this session as an interactive session. I have planned my lecture in this manner only because I wanted that it should be in two-way communication, not in a single way that I'm just reading the PPTs or I'm just giving my lecture. So,
right.
Thank you for your things. Okay. Thank you, Abha. Thank you, Diksha, and thank you others also.
Thank you, sir.